Welcome to another installment of Turn Up the AC Hot Takes with Reason on a solo edition. All social media information will be posted in the description below. We ask that you please go ahead and hit the like and subscribe while you're at it so you can be notified when the latest content is available. Ladies and gentlemen, it is official. Errol Spence, Danny Garcia, November 21st, Fox pay-per-view for the unified WBC and IBF welterweight championship. Now, this is the fight I've been waiting for. For those who have watched or listened in the past, you know I'm a Danny Garcia fan. It was announced by both Danny Garcia and Errol Spence on their personal Twitters. Danny Garcia will be looking at his 10th world title fight. Before we get into all of the, who has the advantage here and there, I just want to talk about what these guys have done leading up to this fight. Errol Spence holds victories over Sean Porter, Mikey Garcia, Lamont Peterson, Kell Brook, and then also his mandatory was in there too over his last 5 fights. And he's looked great. Spence has looked like he is the top dog in the welterweight division. Impressive victories, going over Sean Porter, where he unified the belts, Mikey Garcia, who called him out, and he dominated every round. And now he's going into this big fight with a very dangerous Danny Garcia. Speaking of Danny Garcia, he's coming into this fight after beating Brandon Rios, Adrian Granados by knockout. First guy to ever stop Granados. And Ivan Redkach. He beat him in January when he was originally supposed to fight Spence in January. But Spence had that accident, so we got it postponed until now. Not only is Garcia holding victories over those 3 fighters, in his last 5 fights, he also holds 2 very, very close losses in those 5 fights as well to Keith Thurman and Sean Porter. I'm very happy that this fight is going down. A lot of people are asleep on Danny Garcia's resume, but if you really look at his resume and see the names, the world champions on there that he's beaten, I mean, come on, man. His resume is up there with anybody's. He's fought everybody except for Terrence Crawford at this point. But that's Terrence Crawford's fault. He's on the other side of the street. That's a different conversation for a different time. Yeah, man. Garcia's 2 losses are very close decisions and very respectable losses because at the time he took those 2 L's, Thurman and Porter were, in my opinion, 2 of the top 5 welterweights in the division at the time he fought them. And personally, I actually thought he beat Thurman. I had it 115 to 113 in favor of Danny Garcia. You might call me crazy, but if you go back and look at that fight, 2 of the judges had it scored 115, 113 in favor of each fighter. So that 115, 113 was a very, very reasonable score. Could have went either way. Thurman won a lot of rounds early, in my opinion. Danny came out strong late. But, the judges believe that Thurman won enough rounds. And, who am I to argue? It was a great fight. I would love to see them fight again. And I think Danny Garcia wins clearly if they fight again. That's my personal opinion. His fight with Porter was also very close as well. And could have even been a draw. It was very close. Both fighters put it on, each other. Garcia didn't look good to me. Even at his weigh-in, he looked drained. But, it is what it is. He lost that fight to Porter. And at best, I could have said it was a draw. But I do agree with Porter, edging that one out. It was a very close fight, very good fight, entertaining. Despite Garcia coming into this fight with 2 losses and a lot of people thinking Spence is going to roll him over, let's be honest, Garcia has never been washed. Even in his 2 losses, he didn't get dominated. Nobody's ever dominated Garcia. As much as you want to talk about his footwork, much as you want to talk about this or that, he's never been washed. And I say that to say this. We got to commend Errol Spence for taking this fight because this is no tune-up fight. It's a very dangerous fight and definitely will let us know if Spence has fully recovered from his near-fatal accident last October. I'm happy that he took it. Like I said, Garcia's never been washed. So if Spence could come in here and put on a dominating performance, I'm not saying win every round like he did Mikey Garcia, but I'm talking about win 8 or 9 rounds where it's no question who won. then that'll definitely leave Spence as the clear-cut number one in the welterweight division. Spence has been on a run lately, and with this fight coming up against Danny Garcia, it would mark his third consecutive fight on pay-per-view. You know, it started with Mikey, then Sean Porter, and now Danny Garcia. You know, 3 consecutive pay-per-view fights. And not only that, he's looked dominant. He's looked really dominant, especially against Mikey Garcia when he won all the rounds. Porter got off strong, got off early. He won a lot of rounds early, in my opinion. I had Porter up, I want to say something like 4-2 after 6 rounds. Something like that. And, you know, I thought Spence came on strong late, got the knockdown, and I think that was enough to clinch the win. I had the Sean Porter fight in favor of Spence. I want to say I had it 114-113. So if it wasn't for that knockdown, it could have very easily been a draw. But I also could see it 115-112 in favor of Spence. I can't see it a win for Porter. That fight was too close, and the knockdown, I just can't see it going Porter's way. I know there's some people that feel that Porter won that fight. Me personally, I thought Spence did, and that knockdown I thought sealed the victory for him that night. PBC's building a star, man, with Errol Spence. They've had like their own makeshift tournament over the past like 2 years or so, where all the top welterweight guys are getting a shot at everybody else. You know, Danny fought Porter. Porter fought Thurman. Thurman fought Garcia. So everyone's getting their shot at each other, and we're about to see really soon who's going to come out on top. We still got to see Pacquiao get in there with somebody. I know Mikey Garcia is trying to get that Pacquiao fight. We still got to see Thurman get in there with Spence. We still got to see... I want to see a rematch with Spence. I mean, not Spence. With Thurman and Garcia. Thurman and Porter. I would love to see those rematches because both of those fights were very, very close. I would love to see Porter and Garcia again, because I thought Danny and Porter was a very close fight. Like, there's a lot in the division that's going on right now, and it's a very fun time to be a boxing fan. And it looks like Al Heyman and PBC are doing everything they can to get these big fights done. And we just got to applaud them. If you look at the other networks, you know, the other businesses, you know, the Top Ranks, the DAZNs, what fights are they really putting on right now that got you talking? None. And Showtime just dropped their list of fights for the rest of the year, and they got 3, 4, 5 big fights coming up. That's not even the Fox portion of the fights. You know what I mean? Like, we just got to give them their credit. You know what I mean? Because PBC, Al Heyman, Showtime, they're really doing their thing, man. So shout out to them, and hopefully they continue to give us the biggest fights that we ask for. So let's get into the fight a little bit, man. Spence is the bigger fighter, stronger fighter, more natural welterweight. Although Danny Garcia has grown into his welterweight frame, he isn't a natural 147 fighter. I'd say he's natural at 140. So he's definitely the smaller guy fighting the uphill battle in this fight. Spence is the better boxer. I give him advantage on the footwork. Garcia is known to be flat-footed and doesn't have the sharpest footwork. You know what I mean? And that could be hurtful for him when he's in range with Spence. So he's got to be careful, because if he's not, you know, working his distance and being smart, he could get tagged. Both guys, to me, are in the top 5 in the welterweight division. They're both solid fighters. I wouldn't count Danny Garcia out in this fight. I don't want to hear any excuses either, though. If Garcia is able to pull this win out, I don't want to hear, oh, but Spence, you know, he should have taken the tune-up, or he should have did this. Nah, none of that. I'm giving Spence all the credit in the world if he wins. I'm giving Danny Garcia all the credit in the world if he wins. Now, with that being said, like I said, I think there are 2 of the top 5 welterweights in the division. And I'm going to give you a rundown of who I think the top welterweights are in order. Number 1, I got Errol Spence. Number 2, I got Terrence Crawford. 3, Manny Pacquiao. 4, Sean Porter. 5, Danny Garcia. Number 6, I got Keith Thurman. After Thurman, I got Ugas at 7. Mikey Garcia at number 8. And Sergey Lipinets at number 9. So those are my top 9 welterweights. There's a few other guys that could be mentioned for that last spot, but I just wanted to give you who I thought were the top 9. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to this big fight, man. And I hope you guys are as well. If Spence is able to beat Danny Garcia, it's only going to further strengthen his resume and keep him atop the welterweight division. Danny Garcia is an excellent counterpuncher and also a fighter who Keith Thurman says is a lot harder than Sean Porter. So it's going to be a very interesting thing to see there. Can Garcia, land his counterpunching? Because Garcia's strong counterpunching includes a very strong left hook, which could be his best shot at beating Spence if he is able to land that, because he don't even need to see where it lands for it to land sometimes. So, yeah, regardless of who wins this fight, though, man, hopefully this brings us closer to a unification belt against the likes of Manny Pacquiao and at some point Terrence Crawford for an undisputed fight. So, with all that being said, I'm going to edge Errol Spence, and if I think it's going to go to the cards, I'm going to give Errol Spence the win, 115 to 113, 7 rounds to 5. But the fan in me is rooting for Garcia. So, man, I'm just looking forward for a great fight. These guys are going to give us a lot of action. Potentially could be a fight of the year candidate. So I'm very much looking forward to this fight. So until next time, this has been Reason. Turn up the AC hot takes. And go ahead and comment, hate, debate, whatever you want to do. We appreciate it all. Let us know who you think is going to win this fight and how they're going to win it, and then what you want to see them do after this. So until next time, Reason. Turn up the AC hot takes. We're out.